They presumed that fracturing her spirit would demolish me. My 15-year-old daughter, a young woman who had just turned 15, staggered into my embrace that late afternoon, her eyes puffy and her grip tight around a wrinkled expulsion notice. "Grandmother alleged I am a failure, identical to you," she murmured. Then the remainder of the painful narrative flowed out, how John, my brother, had found it amusing in the principal's office, how my father and mother had affirmed every fabrication, how they had all conspired, ensnaring a teenager until the institution was compelled to issue the punitive measure, and the most egregious detail. The scheme was not merely to stop at a suspension. They coveted her complete expulsion, to obliterate her opportunity for a future, to humiliate me by proxy through her. That was the instant my composure solidified. I did not raise my voice. I did not descend into despair. I began to strategize. My parents had consistently measured merit and deference. John, he was their cherished offspring. Impeccable academic achievement, flawless public standing. He performed the role they adored while I was relegated to the scapegoat. When I had my daughter at the age of 20, they deemed her a miscalculation, and they tolerated her as one tolerates a shadow, something that pursues you whether you desire it or not. But she was not their shadow. She was mine, my luminescence, my entire purpose. And that signified that when they advanced against her, they transgressed the single boundary from which there could be no return. The initial indicator was their arrogance. John dispatched a text message to me that evening. "Certain youths are not destined for scholastics. Do not fret. She will discover her niche, perhaps within the retail sector." My parents echoed this same sentiment during our telephone conversations. Feigning compassion, I could discern the satisfaction concealed beneath their words. They did not simply betray her. They relished it. Consequently, I did not engage in debate. I did not mount a defense. I smiled when they gloated. I expressed my gratitude for their supposed apprehension. I permitted them to believe they had prevailed. Simultaneously, I commenced my investigation. Revenge's fortitude veiled in silence. I commenced with the school deliberations, the documentation, every minute particular of her suspension meticulously recorded. I pressed 4 duplicates of all official statements, simply for my personal archives. The principal wavered until I alluded to legal counsel. Instantly I possessed every item. The falsehoods were conspicuous. Dates that did not correlate, assertions that could be refuted by attendance records, security camera footage, and even the accounts of other pupils. John's involvement was unmistakable throughout the entire deception. His remarks had been magnified and presented as proof. I accumulated it piecemeal, a puzzle only I could perceive with clarity. Subsequently, I tracked their digital activities. Emily, the polished professional, was careless. She had posted photographs with mocking descriptions concerning my daughter, buried beneath layers of fabricated optimism. These screenshots became ammunition. My parents displayed no more electronic messages laced with gossip, featuring phrases such as, "She will never attain prosperity, not with such a mother." They never contemplated that I would ever procure these, yet I did. 6 days. That is the duration it required to construct my case. 6 days of feigning that all was well. 6 days of listening to my daughter question herself, despise herself, and crumble beneath their malevolence. On the 6th evening, I invited them to my residence in New York. "A family dinner," I stated, my tone neutral and cordial. They arrived eager. John wore his self-satisfaction like a diadem. My mother supplied a dessert. My father carried that identical smug expression that I had endured throughout my upbringing. We were seated at the dining table, the dishes steaming, the goblets full, and then I positioned my laptop in the center. The chamber fell silent when the first video commenced playback, surveillance footage from the institution, depicting my daughter seated placidly in the classroom, while John's written statement alleged she had disrupted the lectures. Next came the screenshots, John's derisive online postings, my parents' correspondence, the deceptions unraveling on the display, like a noose constricting around their throats. Their expressions altered, perplexity, then alarm, then repudiation. "You misunderstand," my mother began. "Extracted from context," John stammered. My father roared, "This is domestic affairs. You do not broadcast it publicly." I interrupted him with a smile that did not reach my eyes. "It is no longer domestic affairs. It is a legal matter. The school governing body possesses duplicates. The district superintendent does too. By tomorrow morning, they will open their inboxes and observe precisely who you are." The color drained from their faces. John gripped his glass as if it might anchor him. My mother pleaded. My father swore. I allowed them to disintegrate leisurely, delightfully. "You desired her complete expulsion," I declared. "Instead, you shall be the ones exposed. Your vocations, your professional standing, your neighborhood, you have just ignited them with your own perjuries." My daughter sat beside me, her eyes wide with awe. For the first time, she beheld their powerlessness. For the first time, she beheld me as unassailable. The repercussions were instantaneous. The superintendent initiated an investigation. My daughter's academic record was cleared, her suspension revoked, her reputation completely cleansed. John's firm did not appreciate his image being disseminated across local gossip blogs. Once his posts were leaked, my parents, Their church acquaintances, their neighbors, all witnessed the proof. Their reputation crumbled within one night. 6 days subsequent to labeling her a disappointment, it was their shrieks that permeated the night. Distress, terror, desperation.